Punisher Soviet issue 2 sees Frank meet with Valery Stepanovich, the man who has been poaching his hits. Valery says that he wants to put the mob in its graves, except for Perchenko, who gets to suffer at his hand. The cops soon arrive and Valery says that they can escape through the roof, so escaping up to the roof and off into a neighboring rooftop, they watch as the cops wait for SWAT, since Frank knows Perchenko has the cops on his payroll and he will always play it careful around a butchering lack in the club. Valery knows that that's not the old man that he knows and not how he likes it, since he doesn't think the old man has ever killed a man or even held a weapon in years. He knows Perchenko invests his interest in dividends, not consequences, and Frank wonders what happened to Valery and learns that he was once an enforcer for Perchenko long before his empire was ever a thing, and did the man's dirty work so his hands would not even touch it. A van of Russian men pull up, heavily outfitted, and Frank knows that they are ex-spec ops, but Valery wonders if Frank wants to thin the herd a little. As the cops leave, Frank and Valery go back down into the club, gunning down the men, with Frank impressed at the man's skill with a Kalashnikov, as well as finally finding someone that he can trust in combat. They soon finish off the thugs and Frank tells Valery to come with him, and they soon head to Frank's truck, as someone tries to claim that it's his Uber, but Frank just drives off, leaving Valery to laugh his head off about it. Later, after getting food, Valery offers some vodka to Frank, but Frank never touches alcohol. The Russian wonders if this is a lifelong thing for Frank, learning that it is, but for him, he only wants Perchenko, cause he's got nothing else in his life. Valery talks about his hits on Perchenko in Moscow and Vladivostok, and Valery says that at first he went for his people, making them look like deals gone bad, but what he didn't expect was Frank to be getting the blame. He gets why Perchenko would have thought that it was the Punisher, but his point is that he's hunting the Punisher and doesn't even know Valery exists, which is a good thing for him. Frank says that he never paid the Russian much attention till he came to New York, but things got in the way. However, Valery admires his commitment to the cause. Valery knows that he would be running into Frank eventually and knew the man wouldn't mind the mistaken identity, but he knows the city belongs to Frank and wants to formally request that Frank leave Perchenko to him. Frank says that he will need some convincing first, so Valery tells him the story of him fighting in Afghanistan to free the people, but all his people ever did was get embroiled in a civil war. Valery says that he fought the enemy with his men, but soon witnessed many atrocities, all from his own people, and nothing made a difference to either side's favor. It was just death after death. Valery soon found himself training conscripts who were sent to him after a squad leader shot himself in the head thanks to the conditions. He soon learned of the widespread corruption within the Russian army and how his men were selling things to the enemy for information. The only thing good about the whole affair was the 103rd Guards Airborne along with the 5th Company, which was what Valery was part of. Valery is proud of his time as a paratrooper and talks about a time where he and his men went after a group of mujahideen in the mountains, something they weren't supposed to do, but the base commander at the time, Perchenko, didn't care since he didn't step on Valery's feet and Valery didn't step on his. Later, Perchenko sent them into the mountains south of Kabul, a show of force to prove the Russians were in control of Afghanistan, but what Valery saw there would have shamed even the devil. Punisher Soviet issue 2 dived into the origins of the Russian Punisher and how similar he is to Frank, who finds someone to share his life with. It really is a great look at these two men whose lives have been utterly destroyed by violence and death, and how, in the grand scheme of things, they were kind of just stooges for more powerful men whose hands were left clean thanks to them, and this is them sort of getting payback because of that. I'm really looking forward to the two men getting to work together next issue and to learn more about Valery's gruesome history, since that's quite interesting what Garth Ennis is doing with the character. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.